Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the first of spring, and it's a chilly first of spring at that. But so nice of you to join me this afternoon on the webinar. Sort of a little bit of a business unusual kind of setup as usual. Wouldn't that be nice? But welcome, and just a quick sound check just to make sure that everybody can hear me and that my sound's okay. So if someone wants to just type in the chat box, if you can all hear me, that'll be great. But otherwise, let's dive in. So again, thanks for joining me. We're looking at sort of where we are in business and in terms of our changing times and changing lives and what that means for us business-wise, and potentially having to change the way we do business. And I know a lot of small business owners, entrepreneurs are going through these kind of processes at the moment where they are, sorry, my computer's buzzing at me for some reason. I thought I'd switch my thing off. I hope it's not interrupting or affecting any of you. We're looking at changing the way we do business or having to adapt the way we do business in order to kind of meet these changing times. So we're going to look a little bit at how we go about that and what we need to do to change gears to still keep our businesses going, to still make sure that we have a business, hopefully. So what I was asked to do is to kind of spend the time for this webinar having a look at these questions. How do we make fundamental changes in the business and still manage our costs, which obviously is a huge thing at this point in our lives. We don't want to spend extra money where we're trying to manage cash flow. A lot of people struggle with not knowing where to start when they need to implement changes. Some of us are a bit like deer in headlights, where we know we've got to change, we know we've got to adapt, but we really just don't know where to start, or how do we look at our business and say what can change or what should change, and then pick it up from there. And then also looking at some ideas for how do we try and find some quick wins, some of the low-hanging fruit that we can make changes to our business or processes, and they're quite quick and easy to do, that don't really affect you or your workforce to any great degree. They're quick to implement and easy for everyone to understand, but they could mean great changes and great enhancements for your business. So I thought what I would do is I'd kind of address these questions by way of some case studies, and I'd spoken to quite a few small business owners, entrepreneurs over the last couple of months during our lockdown, especially the hard lockdown, and then as the lockdowns eased into the different levels. And one of the guys I spoke to was a guy who owns a company called Spectra Spray down in KZN. Their manufacturing plant is in KZN. And they were basically manufacturing spray paint and would can the stuff and sell it to the retailers, your Pick n Pays and Games, etc. And obviously, as we went into lockdown in those early days, spray paint or DIY stuff certainly wasn't an essential service. They literally, from the end of March through April and even into May, had not one single order for paint. And luckily for him, times were obviously just kind of the moment was right. He was approached by someone who wasn't happy with a bottling company they were using or a packaging company, and they wanted the Spectra paint, Spectra spray, to put sanitizer into aerosol cans for them. And of course, this is part of what they do. And he literally, all he had to do here was take his existing equipment and potentially just change the sort of gas bottles that he was using, the different gas types he was using. And he was able to bottle sanitizer for a client. And what he did was, just by doing that, he achieved similar margins to what he was doing with the spray. And paint and spray is pretty tight margins as it is. But what he landed up doing was literally doubling his business. The sanitizer suddenly accounted for 50% of what he was doing, but the volumes were quite incredible. So he managed to pick up a whole new arm of a business. So he's still doing the paint side of it, manufacturing and putting paint into aerosol cans. But in addition to that, he's decided to also take on the sanitizer as a longer term thing. This is not going away, as we know. Everywhere you go, and I joke about it, I walk into shops and I still have the person at the front door running after me because I forget to sanitize. And you'd think it would be a habit by now. But this is not going away in a hurry. So this is a part of the business that he's determined he can actually maximize for as long as it's around and push the business for that. And in addition to that, he's also trying to identify other contract packaging opportunities, one of them potentially being to put the air spray sanitizer into the aerosol cans for the airlines, because apparently there are new requirements in terms of that sanitizer and the spray that they use in the airplanes. And he's been looking at providing those kind of services. So he has a business. Guy's been in business for many years, I think since about 1982 or the early 1980s. Been in business for a long time, business passed from father to son. And he was getting really panicky before lockdown in terms of where his business was going. And for him, COVID was actually a bit of a lifesaver, made him rethink his business and look for opportunities and come up with something different. So just before I go into the next example, if you have any questions or anything you want to comment on, obviously you can post in the chat, or if you've got a specific question, post in the questions section on your side screen, on your sidebar. The questions sometimes get lost in the chats if there's a few chats. So post your questions so we don't miss any of those questions, and I'll keep an eye on that little box as well if we need to answer them. Otherwise, I'll have a look at those at the end as well. The second example I'd like to look at is an online training business. And before COVID, before lockdown, this business was face-to-face training, one-on-one and classroom-style training, where her students would attend training in a little classroom facility that she had. A couple of the issues she had was that she only dealt with potential students or customers in the Joburg and surrounding areas. She's sort of on the East Rand here, Bedford View, Bruma area. So she could only deal with customers who were prepared to travel as far, up to into Bedford View, sort of in those areas. Obviously, classroom size, she could accommodate approximately 10 students at a time, and had parking constraints and obviously classroom size constraints as well, which limited the amount of people she could teach at any given time. And also, if she was traveling to her clients, because sometimes she did lessons at their homes, she would lose time with travel. She did do occasional online trading through Skype, but it certainly wasn't a biggie for her before lockdown. When we went into lockdown, literally the only thing she had to do was purchase a Zoom license or a Zoom plan. She's obviously looked at what it costs her to run her classroom, to run the business in terms of the face-to-face side of it, and weighed it up in terms of that Zoom license. Everything now, she has literally moved her entire business online, and not only is she able to see or deal with more students per class, but she's also able to offer her services nationally, and I'm assuming even internationally, if there were people interested. And I'll give you an example. This one's kind of close to my heart. She's my Portuguese language teacher. When I did a course with her at the beginning of this year, there were 10 of us in a class. I started off doing face-to-face live training in a class, and we then obviously had to go online when we went into lockdown. And I'm now doing a follow-up course with her, and we've gone from a class of 10 people to a class of 18 people. So just in my group alone, by having increased the class by 8 people, she's probably paid that Zoom license. And if she's done that similarly with other groups, you can just imagine that fee is negligible now. She's far more efficient. We get a lot more done in the class. Everybody seems to be so much more focused. And the great thing about this is not only can she take bigger groups, but with her existing or past students, she can actually offer them refresher courses, and they can come on anytime because they're not taking up space of from her paying clients. So again, lockdown presented a fantastic opportunity for her, and it made her move her business into the online space. Another example of online solutions is a interior design company based down in Cape Town. And what they actually did was, prior to lockdown, they had decided to develop an online package for almost like a do-it-yourself, but where they get certain specs and information from their clients, and they present the design back to the client in the form of, as you can see on the screen, a box. So you get your plan, your layout plan of your room or your house, and with that, they give you the ideas for your mood boards and your color boards and color profiles, etc. And just such a clever little idea, because obviously during lockdown specifically, and especially when we went through the hard lockdown, we were all sitting at home. And if you looked on social media, a lot of people were saying, well, we're home, we might as well do stuff, we might as well paint the house, or redo the garden, or spend our time wisely, especially if there were people who weren't actually working from home during the time. And so their product was primed to kind of, really go live and maximize once we went into lockdown. And what they've also done is they've taken that business and said, what can we do with this product, with this design in a box product? And one of the ones they wanted to look at was doing a promotion where they looked at creating the home office space. So whether you were dedicating a corner of your living room to an office, or whether you had a room that you could make a home office, they could obviously provide a service in terms of the design of that home office. And what they also did was, in addition to just giving you the design and the mood board and the color specifications, etc., they negotiated offers and discounts with their design and decor suppliers and their furniture suppliers. So not only do you get this design, but you get this little gift card that's got all these discounts on it. And if you go through, so if they recommend a certain couch or a certain laminate floor finish for you, for example, and you use their suppliers, you present that card and you qualify for those discounts. So they really put a lovely package together that almost gave the customer a feeling that they were a DIY doing it for themselves, but they had a really strong design and plan to base their home or office revamp or their room revamp on. And what they were saying to me when I interviewed one of the owners of the company, she said to me that they can definitely tell that there is the trust in online services is growing. And having said that, I spoke to somebody down in KZN this week who's got a business where they advertise clothing and accessories online. And she was just saying how fantastic it's been for her in terms of people now shopping online and understanding that it's actually such a great opportunity. You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to go to the shops. You don't have to go to the shopping centres. And especially if you don't want to venture out there, online has just become that much more powerful. Another opportunity or another idea, a workforce working remotely. An IT services and support company preempted lockdown and identified employee needs before the end of March. They kind of said, well, if we had to send every single one of our staff members home to go and work from home, what would they need to continue doing their job and providing our customer base with IT support and security, etc.? So they made sure that every single one of their employees was kitted out and geared, so your laptop, your internet connectivity, your Wi-Fi, etc. And they sent all their guys home the week before lockdown and got them all set up and ready to go. And that has been so successful for them that A, they've had minimal retrenchments. They still have that workforce working for them. And B, it's been so effective, and they found that productivity has been so good and so high with the guys that work for them and are working remotely, that it's almost time to look at giving up their expensive office space going forward. So obviously as rentals or leases, renewals come up, etc., they would probably renegotiate that and determine whether they still need this big office space. So the nice thing about this example is that here is a company who they look to see where can we save money, like on rentals and related operational costs, as opposed to retrenching portions or large portions of the workforce, which obviously is fantastic. We want to try and minimize job losses and retrenchments and that sort of thing. Another example, one of the people I interviewed spoke about the fact that he was in the PPE supply game. And of course, we know how that went crazy during lockdown and when COVID hit, and everybody had run out of masks and gloves and sanitizer. And I mean, even Dis-Chem was selling the various ingredients to make your own sanitizer at home. And what this guy did, he also realized that everybody was playing in the same space and was trying to compete. And the margins were just being cut to shreds. And he actually found somebody that had developed an eco-friendly sort of fogging product, but hadn't really done much with it. And he went to this woman and he said to her, well, can I help you? I've got an existing workforce. I've got people out there on the road. I've got reps. I've got people who go and do sort of PPE and health and safety stuff. Can I not use your product? And we go into existing businesses, so leveraging off existing clients and existing networks. And he would approach clients and say, well, you know what, before your staff come back to work, we've got to clean and sanitize and fog your office. Maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, we should come back in and do the fogging service. So this became an ongoing repeat type business where once you get the guys in once, they want to come back and they want to get you back to refog periodically. And again, the nice part of what he did here was didn't retrench his staff. He kind of repurposed, took those staff members, trained them to provide the fogging, how they had to go and do the fogging service. And he could basically put those guys on the road and send them out again to go and provide the service. So, there's so many examples. If you look around, and a lot of what I look at, although I'm on Facebook and Instagram and I do it from a social point of view, I also look to see what businesses are doing and where their focus has shifted to. And if I look at a lot of what I'm seeing online and on social media and even the emails I get, so many companies have looked to say, what are our options? We've got businesses, we've got a manufacturing plant, or we've got products. What can we do with them, or how can we add to our existing product range or services to meet the new demands of our customers? And one example is a company who manufactures and produces laminate furniture. And what they've done is identified hotels as a potential new market. So think about a hotel. You go into a hotel room and the headboard and the curtains and the flooring, etc. It's all plush. It's all carpets. It's all fabric. And of course, how do you clean that from a COVID and a sanitizing point of view? It's a bit of a challenge. So they're looking to produce products to replace some of these items, to replace a fabric headboard with a laminate type headboard, and starting to talk to hotels and the sort of senior management of hotels to say, what can we develop and what can we do for you that would assist in making sure that your rooms are easy to clean, easy to sanitize, and that you can give your guests the level of safety and security that they're looking for if they're staying in the hotel. Sorbet, another one, offering delivery services for retail products. And then just recently I saw an ad where they're offering a We Come to You service. So, as a Sorbet customer, if I didn't want to go into a Sorbet branch for my manicure or pedicure or my massage, I could book it and they'd come to me, and it might cost a little bit more, but if that's what gives me a level of comfort as a customer, so be it. And we're meeting a need, which is quite important. Furniture manufacturers and retailers, pretty much everyone is shouting about home office options and solutions, from, you name it, Choreograph to Game and the big furniture companies. Everybody's kind of saying, we've got desks and we've got rugs, and turn this space into a productive office space. There's all sorts of ways. Leroy Merlin, all sorts of companies are doing really interesting marketing things to try and keep their customers kind of engaged and to try and provide solutions to their customers so that they don't lose out on potentially what were customer target markets for them. So if we look at over the course of this year, basically from the beginning of the year and then through the hard lockdown and through where we are today, thankfully level 2 and sort of getting back to some form of business as normal. Some of the segments that we're seeing, and I work in the franchising space, so these are a lot of the business opportunities and offerings that we see in the franchising space. Storage solutions is a big one. A company called Storage King has developed a really stunning business model where what they've done is they've built and created what's called a storage pod, a portable storage unit. And they literally come to you as the customer. They load up your little 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment or your house or a certain number of rooms in your house. They lock the storage pod at the end of it. They sort of put a padlock on it and they give you the keys and they take the pod back to their warehouse and they store it in the warehouse. And if you need anything out of that pod, you can go and visit them and collect your things, or they deliver the pod back to you when you want your goods back. So really stunning idea, and they've come up with some really interesting storage solutions and options for people who potentially need to downgrade or downsize their houses due to potential retrenchments, job losses, that kind of thing. Delivery and courier services is another huge one. If you just think of online, first of all, and that's my next point, if online services are going crazy and there's such a demand for them, we need couriers to deliver the goods. So that's become a massive thing. Any sort of cleaning and sanitizing service is still big. As I said earlier, this is not going away in a hurry. And I think we're all still quite pedantic about going out there and making sure we're safe. Home improvements and upgrades, another big one that's still kind of on the agenda. I guess a lot of people are going back to work, but having said that, a lot of people are still working from home or are still at home and want to look at keeping themselves busy and doing a few things. So there's potential, there's opportunities out there. And if we kind of look at the critical takeaways of this little presentation, I think what you've got to do is look at your business critically and identify what's not in demand anymore, what are customers not asking you for, or if there are any potential add-on services that you can offer to existing clients. Because remember, you've got those clients. They hear you already, they hear your marketing, they see your emails and your communications. So can you not leverage off that current network and provide additional products and services, etc., to them? Assess your current resources and determine if they can be repurposed or refitted. So, and I talk about equipment and people. So like the spray, the paint spray guy, can you take existing equipment and do something else with it? Can you make it work for you and maximize the equipment so that it doesn't stand redundant, not doing anything? Make your equipment, make your people work for you. Can you train your staff to offer other products and services or support and send them out and let them provide that, so that you don't necessarily have to trench people, that you can keep them employed, but you give them something else to do. Identify quick wins. So look for the low-hanging fruit, as I said in the beginning of the presentation. Identify, like the PPE guy, look for something like that fogging service or that opportunity. Talk to existing people, your customers. Some of your customers might have opportunities for you. So network with your customers and even ask them, what can we do for you? Where can we assist you? What do you need? And if you can then fill those gaps and kind of really press those hot buttons, those are some of the quick wins that you can take advantage of. And of course, there's nothing worse than coming up with great ideas or providing new products and services, or really thinking that you've come up with some sort of a niche product or service and then not telling anybody about it. Don't make it the world's best kept secret. Make sure you tell everyone about it. Make sure that your customers, and going forward, potential new customers, know what you're offering and know everything, know about all your offerings. And if I can kind of finish off with a point, and this is something I must say I've picked up over the last month to 5 weeks or so, and this is with us getting back out there, going into level 2, getting back out there, where I'm eating in a restaurant again, or I'm shopping in stores that I might have not been shopping in during lockdown periods. A big thing for me is focusing on customer service in a business. You think that with people not wanting to shop or not wanting to go into the centers or not wanting to eat out, that you want to really safeguard your customers. You really want to maximize on those customers you have. So please don't scare them away. Please make sure that you really treat them well and you provide them with absolutely fantastic service so that you retain those customers. Don't lose them. They're kind of your lifeblood at the moment, a lot of them. So it's always a good idea to make sure that it's always good to make sure you look after those customers. So that's me. I haven't seen any questions popping up. Does anybody have any questions, anything you'd like to ask? Then please pop a question in the chat or in the question box. But otherwise, thank you very much once again for your time this afternoon, and thank you for joining me. And take care, and wishing everybody all the best. And I hope level 2 lockdown is good for everybody and that for your businesses, and wishing you all the best going into the next level and hopefully into some form of normalcy. Thank you, everybody. Take care.